everyone. Welcome back to Divine Disconnection, where we talk about spirituality, mental well being, and human connection. I am your host, Ralph Bryant, right? And I am here with Lawrence Salazar, who is from Angelus Regalia Collective. Right? Did that sound right?
Valencia.
Oh, Valencia. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got the Salazar from. let's just do that again.
Okay. That's okay.
Oh, you know what? I think Lawrence Salazar is actually. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Divine Disconnection, where we talk about spirituality, mental well-being, and human connection. I am your host, Ralph Bryant, and I am here with Lawrence Valencia, who's from Angelus Regalia Collective. How are you doing today, Lawrence?
Good. And I'm excited for your show. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. And where in the world are you?
I'm currently in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But where did you grow up?
I was from the Philippines.
Okay. How long have you been in Canada?
Roughly around probably 10 years, give and take, something like that.
Does it feel like home yet?
The weather is.
Because it's cooler?
Yeah, it's colder, way beyond on the other spectrum. Yeah.
Right. Correct. And what brought you to Canada?
My parents was immigrating here, so we just planned along.
Right, because you look pretty young. I know you're not supposed to ask people how old they are, but
Yeah,
you're pretty young.
yeah. Okay. Oh boy.
How did you develop your spiritual practice?
Well, technically, I was more like guided by my guides. Like they keep on teaching me stuffs, and most of my learnings are from my higher selves. Like each individual gave a contribution on what I learned right now.
So how did that process unfold for you? Like what because I'm assuming that when you're talking about your guides, you're not talking about people, you're talking about your spirit guides, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how did that unfold for you? And how young or old were you when you started receiving those those downloads from your spirit guides?
You won't believe it, but I just awoken like April 15 this year.
Okay.
And what they taught me is that even you will be awakened for 30 years, they can accelerate and compress everything for a new awakening that will make you caught up for the same knowledge as a 30-year awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I awoken, or how it started is that I'm sleeping, right? Then, astral projection?
Yep.
Yep. And so, lucid dream is different from dreaming and astral projection. Well, technically, imagine you're sleeping, then suddenly two hands grab your shoulders, hold you out of your window, all the way up to your roof, all the way up to the sky. Then suddenly you can see the atmosphere, your house getting smaller. You can feel the wind, smell the wind. You can see your feet dangling like this. You're technically like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Then I heard a voice. Are you willing to leave them? Are you okay to leave? Then I checked on below my house. I see two plague-like looking dark entities, like huge brontosaur looking plagues, and I drew about them. And what happened is I just instinctively removed what's holding me. And the weird thing is I forced a soul spear from my hand. and throw it at one, but I dropped like a log because I don't know how to use my wings. I didn't know I have wings, but I was falling. And when I stood up, I saw my patio door. It's glass, and I saw my reflection. Normally, when you're doing astral, you normally see a light body or a circle as your reflection, as your soul.
Mhm.
And I saw my primary higher self instead. And it's not, it's different.
Mm.
It have a crown and wings and different looking. And I drew about him more as I went. Then I think time passes by, more higher selves started introducing themselves to me through others or through dreams or through any kinds of modality. Then they were like, one introduced himself as when I was doing astral travels as a dragon. Another one when I was doing a healing session and he was a fairy. And when I was doing grid work, there's my higher self who taught me about duality, which is a yin yang seraphim. So each one of them have their own specialty, and everyone have their own sets of higher selves that they can have access to, and they can explore their gifts. But you have to know how to navigate through those, something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
do you still have questions so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by this. So I have tons of questions, but
Okay.
I'm how did you, this must have did you when you were experiencing this for the first time, or even as you've continued, were you scared? Like, this doesn't sound like something that the average person would be like, oh, this is happening and I'm good. Like, I'm curious about how you were experiencing that and how you processed the fact that you were taking on and these gifts were manifesting inside you. Does your family have your family members that have similar gifts, or like, where did it, or is it literally like you woke up and you couldn't, you weren't someone who had astral projected, and then the next day you were someone who did astral
Yeah.
project?
Well, technically, I was a full scientific skeptic before. Like
Okay.
I non-religious. I have my own beliefs, and I'm exposed to multiple religions
Mm-hmm.
because of my country, and I'm neutral technically in every one of them.
Yep.
But since young, I was like, I have a deep sense of that our history is incomplete, and I call it, we're missing a big chunk of void history. Like there's something incomplete here, and I was always in search of that. So I was like, how about aliens? Where they come from? Universe is so big for just humans or something like that. So I'm open with those sorts of ideologies, but I put them in the background because I'm doing your 3D job, you're living, you have kids and wife and everything. But then suddenly I got a full blown experience,
Right.
and I couldn't explain it. And for some time I was like, the imposter syndrome, and sometimes they will call you crazy because if you are the only one who have opened your eyes when everyone have their eyes closed, how can you explain to them how the sky looks like blue
Sure.
technically? So sorry, I lost in thought. What
Okay.
was the question again?
It was just about how, it's just more about how you were you worried when, as you were developing this practice, where what your family history was like, what
Oh, okay.
I know you said, and you described that you were kind of, spiritually, you know, you were not a spiritual person. You described
No.
yourself as a skeptic. So how did that skeptic brain handle the fact that you were now having this spiritual experience?
The thing is, I started asking the first questions that normally new awakeners ask is like, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose here? So my initial journeys was like centered on those. Like I keep on asking my guides, who am I? Then because I started with dreams, I started trying to look into that part of it. So when before I sleep, I ask, who am I? Who am I? Before I sleep. And through dreams, they call us dreamwalkers initially, but don't limit it to that. It expands to multiple avenues. So I have learned because they started because now you I don't have a family for psychic and everything. Everyone is religious on their own right, and they have their own beliefs, and none of us are psychic per se. I'm not sure if my other relatives is, but so far in my immediate family there's none. And what happened is that the one who started teaching me is my guides or my selves, and through them they started guiding me through people and like what you should learn right now and what you should be what do you call this, your interests right now. And I think one of them is like just introduce like how you invite them. And some of them started saying like how you should started calling them or manifesting them. Because when I was a child, when my grandmother passed away, I know that one of my gifts is dreams. So I sometimes call my grandmother when she was on her deathbed. I said, "You're suffering, and you can just release. Don't have to wait, and visit me in my dream. Talk to me." And when we ended the call that night, I had the visitation, and I didn't know it was her. And the visitation was like a young lady, and I didn't know it's her until I saw her in the burial. And her photo when she was young, it's the same lady. So I already know the avenue that I can access that dream state because that is more of my strength. But each person have their own strengths in their awakening rights.
Do we all have the ability to do this?
It depends on your modality and your how you are designed in this lifetime, because some of us may be awakened when we are young and you can see ghosts, something like that. And some of us can be more clear on voice, or some of us can become more telepathic, sending by just an image on your head. And some you just awaken up and you couldn't explain anything, but it happens.
Right. And so how do you, so I had an experience that I think is, I don't know. I have not done the work and the research, but I did have a very similar experience in which I experienced some kind of connection to the, somewhere in the great beyond. It felt, and actually it was a series of experiences in which my clear voices of my ancestors were speaking to me.
Oh, wow.
And it happened over a period of couple of weeks where I seem to be very, divinely connected, and everything that I am doing and exploring now is as a direct effect. It's from that experience. And you, depending on who but that's a conversation that's very hard to have with people kind of in your day to day, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone prepared to believe that you were possessed by you folks from the spirit realm. And so, like a lot of things where it's hard to figure out how to say it,
Mm-hmm.
that we tend to kind of hide and not speak of it. And this, the big reason why I created this podcast was to be able to have as expansive conversations as I could to about spirituality, to inform myself, but also I think lots of people in this time are, want to create a deeper spiritual connection,
Mm-hmm.
and are afraid of how to do it, or how to go about it in a way, especially if they've been tethered to religion, to go about it in a way that feels expansive and not closed.
Okay.
For you to have been someone who was a skeptic, to have come all the way, kind of on the other side, it's a very, your story is so interesting.
Okay.
How did you? So is the Angelus Regalia collective? Is that is that a group of people, or is that you and the spirits that you can inhabit as you kind of move around?
Okay. So there's multiple topics there. So let's start with Angelus Regalia. When I was awakened and I started exploring on what this spirituality about, and I heard about a collective, and I said, "What is a collective? It's like a group or a tribe." Then they said, "I have a collective." Then I started asking, "Who is my collective?" Then they said it's a group of angels, and with angels under them. And right now you have a 3-digit angel under that collective, and you are the representative of that collective. And as I explore, did I answer that question? But as I explore, more and more entities join that group, expanding from galactics, dragons, mystical animals, what do you call this? Elementals, and all sorts of gods per se, Celtic, Egyptians, and everything. So some of them started joining to the collective, and when I do so rescues, and some of the fallen angels repent for their sins and became fallen back to the light. Some of them started to join as well. So Angelus Regalia Collective is technically initially a collective of angels, and for those who can remote view, it is located in the Sun City. It's in the Sun. It's the city name is Regalia, but if you can tap into it, then go ahead. The last one who tapped into it, they just said it's heavily guarded. So if they will allow, then they will. But it's an angelic group who will. Most of us are contributing and creating skills so that we can pass on to humans. And I have passed some skills already to some human on like how to heal or how to change these ones. But my reach is kind of limited at the moment, so they're expanding on that one. Now, there was the other one. Now, the other one was you're saying channeling, right? It's channeling and possession is two different things. Possession
Sure.
is some kind of a negative term, but when you're saying you're channeling, now you're accessing someone from a different realm or a different entity. But what they taught me is what you call full body embodiment. And instead of channeling what they know, this is only effective for your higher selves or other you. So there's a process, and when you fully embody, they technically take over everything. And right now, I'm telling them, what do I say? I don't have any script, so I'm leaving it to them to navigate all of this. And what I'm saying to you right now is images that are channeled into my head as a view of my higher selves or my other higher selves per view. So that's the full channeling. What? I missed something. Okay. So now normally I talk like that. So
Yeah.
so sometimes they teach me, so did I miss something? So now the next one is like when you said you're hiding in a closet or you keep it because you don't want to be labeled as a crazy person, especially in your neighborhood. But I just recently learned of this, and you can trigger this topic into what you call timeline hopping or timeline jumping. Do you have the basic knowledge on the
I don't.
timelines?
No.
So right now we are in 5D Earth. Do you confirm that? Right. So
Yeah.
5D Earth, we are comprised of multiple timelines. You may be on the higher timeline, lower timeline, who knows, right? And the more higher timeline you go, the more higher or faster you manifest. And by speaking to people, it shifts your perspective by a little bit,
Sure.
and it jumps you up a timeline. When I say timeline, it's like a TV. Let's say you are on channel 1 to 10, and then you're channel 5. Channel 1 is happening where everything is nuclear war. Channel 2 is everything have drought and everything. Channel 5, where you are right now, it's neutral. Channel 7, someone can do telekinesis in your world, something like that. So
Right.
when you start exposing and changing your mentality, perception, it changes your base vibration.
Mm.
And when you change your base vibration, you jump timelines. One example that they gave me as a task is posting about my gifts in my Facebook group.
Right.
I mean, my Facebook in public.
Yeah.
So all your friends from all your younger years, every years. So you're thinking, they will criticize me. They will say I'm nuts. I may lose friends. But what they said is that you got born here, like alone. You will live here alone. Even if you have a loved one, you will live here alone, and everything that you have will stay.
Right.
Sorry. And what they're saying is that if you don't live to your authentic self, you won't be able to attain your real happiness. And when I started posting about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
publicly in my profile, changes came in because I already know about timeline jumping. It's hard. I know it's gonna be hard. Their test is hard. You will unprogram, unlearn everything that's keeping you safe right now because that only works in 3D Earth. And it's gonna be hard, especially if that kept you safe for a long time. The first changes that happened in my reality is that everyone around me started becoming neutral with my spirituality and started helping me. As I start to go in public, suddenly a neighbor come to me and talk the same thing about spirituality. And we were like open, we were like meditating, we're talking about source, we're talking about ETs and everything. Then the next thing I know, I got invited into another neighbor. Then suddenly he started speaking spirituality, which is not really how he approached me on our previous years,
Right.
which is started to be like, whoa, now spirituality is spreading in my neighborhood. And so the thing is, when we get these kinds of challenges, this is what they taught me. When we get into these challenges, you are faced into a cliff. And what your 3D ego will say, you will fall.
Right.
One chance or one scenario, you will fall. He will focus on that one scenario. But you have 99 other scenarios that will like, oh, he will just break a bone. Or there's a net underneath. Or a helicopter pass me and swoop him. That is the main problem of people who is awakening right now, is that they're focusing on the worst one to prevent it. But what is my guides is telling me, or should have been, is that if you started asking them to guide you to your higher selves and you face this, it's not jumping blind like, oh, yeah, I go out of work, then suddenly I don't have work, I blame someone else.
Right.
It comes with discernment as well. So for you to go up there, they will test you, how far will you go? And no matter what your decision will be, it will always be right. The only thing that changes is how long or short it will gonna be affecting your journey.
Right.
So that's the main thing that they taught me. And the angelic realms, if you ask their guidance, they normally require almost daily invitation, like, I invite you, consent to manifest in my reality, and I would ask for assistance, guidance, knowledge, and wisdom for me to maximize this day so I can go to that higher best or highest best timeline that is supposed to be where I'm happy. And sometimes what you thought is your best and happiest moment may be 10 times more on what they planned.
Right.
And they normally don't give it to you because it's always a surprise.
Yeah.
So that's that train of thought kept me going, because I started having synchronicities, changes in my reality that from time to time that tell me that they are real. And that's how I became something right now.
So for someone that comes to you for angelic healing,
Mhm.
what does that experience look like for them?
For them? What do you mean, like?
Yeah. So if I were a potential client of yours asking for angelic healing, which is one of the the things that the collective offers, what's that process like?
Well, technically, it first depends on what needs healing, right? But it varies, and healing is just a broad term for it, because some of them you have to pull demons out of. Some of them you have to call their ancestor for healing, which is how do I say this? Sometimes some of your unascended ancestors are envious of your life right now, because now you have access to multiple timelines, right? And sometimes they put cords on you, envy, everything. And this is your own ancestors, and they are in the lower realms.
Okay.
And they put this binds on you so that you won't be more successful in this life because they're envious that you get to have a life where you are compressing multiple timelines into one. And with that, you can be not in this predetermined outlook. You can choose many channels.
Right.
And they don't have that option. And they're envious. So they put binds. And some of those are one of my healings. So we removed those. We ascended the ancestors. Then it unlocks their abilities. Sometimes they get their own heritage from their ancestors. Some of my healings have to deal with envious curse, like people envy, or suddenly people started seeing you like, hey, look at this guy. He's going up. I'm envious. Why him? Not me. When they see you like lower, it's just this one. So they started, because now we're in a 5D earth, we're more manifesting with your thoughts. It becomes reality. So you get those thoughts, energy, as a spiritual attack, but technically they're just thinking about it as a negative. So something like that. And sometimes some of them really make curses, like contact dark gods, sacrifice as animal. And the sad thing about it is that some animals that got sacrificed for the curse become demons. And people exorcist demons to evaporate. But on the angelic basis of a bit, if you purify them, you will see them turn back into their animal self and run around and go back where they need to be.
Mm.
And it's a pity on how they felt because they are like tormented. So something more like that. It's more expansive than healing. We did psychic surgery as well. Like I just did a while ago for more like a tummy problem that they have indigestion or something because of. So it was an energy imbalance, and it's a process where I communicate with you as the vessel and to your higher selves. Because if I say I heal you, something like that, your higher self, if it's not for your best good, he will just deflect it.
Right.
So sometimes healers were like, why didn't it affect you? But because you need double confirmation for yourself and for your higher self, then the more you have go signals and the more limitations that you say, this is the only thing that I will do, because some people will just say yes. It overrides your free will.
Mm-hmm.
So some people does that. So when you be more specific on what you want to do and discuss it with the higher self and the person, and the more you're truthful you are, the more effective your healing will be, whatever you heal or something like that. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you know yeah. I mean, there's so many kind of places. I'm so curious about people that can do this work and can tap in, because I think it's, you know, just another level of awakening and consciousness that, you know, we're all, you know, striving for at some level. What are I had a not too long ago, I had an akashic reading done. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if you could tell me about how you developed, you know, if you could kind of describe what akashic records are, and how you developed the ability to read them. Was that kind of a next level as you continued in your practice and evolution, or, you know, just tell me a little bit more about them.
There's stages on your awakening, and I can enumerate them, but it will become a 2-hour long or 3-hour long discussion, and
Right.
There's step by steps and how you create them. And akashic reading is around middle part of it, because you have to have access to, some people need to be in deep trance state to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my gifts just lets me tap into it consciously.
Right.
But like I said, I need to like get say your name, and I'll ask your higher self, your guardians of your akashic records, to give me access of it. There's a lot of things to be asked, which
Right.
is something like that. But when I started learning about the akashic, is that everyone can read their own akashic records, and they have access to it unless it's locked by someone else.
Right.
And to tune into your akashic record is you have to ask your akashic guardians for entry. And no matter what your modality will be, if you can just visualize it, dream about it, depends on how you communicate with your team. Call for your akashic record guardian and ask if you're allowed to see it or watch it. Then, if you get the clearance, put a table in your front. Since if you couldn't read records yet, put a table on your front, and this will start you up with your akashic record reading for yourself.
Okay.
Just tell the guardian, put the things that I should be doing right now or today or this week or this month that I should prioritize for this one. And okay, so they said don't ask any time or prophecy type of question because future is fluid. You won't get an accurate answer. So the normal questions that they will give you is like, show me my future selves, my futures that I can relate right now.
Right.
Or is there something that I can call, which is my higher self that I need to connect to that will be involved for my life right now that I can take the gift, absorb, and use it. Or you can ask the what, how, and what, how questions like what is blocking me right now to be rich, or how am I gonna be able to solve this problem, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, if you start with the table methodology, they will put a book or something that you will get it, and you will know it's like a guidance, right? Or you may not get it, but suddenly during your day, you will like suddenly encounter a synchronicity pertaining to that object. So once you get that image, write it down, then start working your way out there. On that journey, later on, you will be able to ask your guardian if you can ask your access your books,
Right.
your other lifetime books, your technically anything else that you want to access within the Akashic records. For accessing other people's Akashic records, you may have to ask the authority of the lords governing the Akashic records, and you may ask them, but they depends on how you process the information they will allow you.
Right.
Because if you become judgmental on the information, they will test you. Everything will be tested before you get access to a gift. So they will test you, and if you fail, move on, then try again. Doesn't mean you end there. You just, I'll try better next time. Then they will suddenly organize something, then you will be tested again, and you will not know it unless you already know, oh, this is a test. Okay, let's see how we will do it. But those are the things that you want to start with. But the thing is, you just have to have the intention to start it. So when you're tired with the table, ask for the next stage, or ask them what should be my next stage for accessing my Akashic records.
What's been the most interesting thing that you have found, whether about your that you've experienced, whether it's looking at your own practice or working with other people, like is there something that you can point to that even you were like, at this, at this stage in your journey, pretty surprised about?
Um, my first group healing, I guess, where when I started doing something, other psychics confirm it,
Hmm.
which is a huge confirmation that something is happening at that moment. And I was not a healer then.
Right.
And the thing is, when this happens, it's manifesting in my reality as well, like weather or how water reacts to you. And there's too many synchronicities that solidified the perception of the guidance.
Right.
And the time jumping as well is very solid because the okay, let me explain that one. Do you want me to change topic? Sorry. So when you change timelines, you change the people around you changes as well. Let's say your timeline on channel 2, you have an enemy. You realize that there's no enemy. Sometimes it was your soul best friend in the other before life that this time, hey, I'm gonna play the villain, so you will learn. And gonna hammer you bad so that you'll learn. And you're like, oh, come on, we're best friends. But he
Right.
became your enemy in this life, and you're like so angry, right? So he really triggered you good. So they say when you jump timelines, be compassionate to the people around you
Mm.
because they may not be the same person that you hated on that lower timeline. Because as you jump timeline, people change. And people who isn't in that timeline haven't probably assimilated their lower timelines. That's another topic for discussion where you assimilate. Um, so they said be compassionate to everyone around you, even your enemies, and they're triggering you so that you can heal. And when you heal, you jump timelines. When you shift perception, you jump timelines. Sorry for that change in topic because they just
I feel like you're talking right to me because
yeah.
it's just
they change topic sometimes. They're like, let's not continue that one. I think this one is something that you should be
right.
talking about. And is there
And
anything
is
else?
that just always like I can see sometimes your what you're focusing on, like in
Hmm.
like what your focus kind of shifts. Is
Yeah.
is 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 that what your is that what your day to day like experience is like? Like, are you or is because this conversation is focused on spirituality that they're listening closer? But if you were just having dinner with friends, are you getting those downloads in social moments as well, or is this
Um,
unique because we're talking about spirituality?
when I say, like I said before, it's a full body channeling.
Yeah.
One purpose, I hope, knock on the door. One purpose of your spirituality in this timeline, multiple timelines, as you ascend higher on that timeline, is there's layers of higher selves, right?
Right.
You have a guardian angel higher self. You have a at the top of them is called primary higher self, or what they call oversoul, and that is your God self. And one of the key things is that you have to anchor your God self to this reality. And I'm going to talk about the seven chakras. And when you anchor your God self into this reality, you start with the root. I am my higher self. I feel like my higher self. I do, I do I act like my higher self. Plexus, heart. I love like my higher self. I speak like my higher self. I see like my higher self. I understand like my higher self. In that sense, you're now seeing this world as your other self, but one thing is soul integration. Now, with the word self, all of you is one. That's why I said when you affect all of you and it ripples, they evolve. And when you go together, you become stronger. And when you anchor it all down to you, all of your higher selves, then you will harness all of their powers. And so that's how you do full body channeling and it's not just when we're talking about it. It's day to day, like how you live and how you do your thoughts and how you think, right? Because when the okay, so when they're saying is that when you pray, you speak, right?
Yeah.
This is what I want. This is what I need. And what they say is that when you meditate, you listen, and that's their time to talk. And sometimes being silent is being present, and being present is the perfect neutrality from past and future, from dark and light. And being present makes you more centered, grounded. That's my Seraphim higher self speaking, sorry. So he's the duality higher self. Some people have dark and light dragons. It depends on who your duality higher self is. But that's what she's saying, that you have to be more present, per se. Am I deviating from the answer? I think I'm deviating.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm deviating.
Where should someone start that wants to begin the process of connecting deeper, expanding further? Where should they start? Does it all begin with meditation? Are there other things that people can do?
It all starts with intent. When I started intention, because I wanting to know my purpose every day before I sleep, because that's my modality, dreamwalker. So before, initially, now it's not. It's different. I always want to connect with my higher guides. My guides, my higher selves, and everything. I want to have a deep connection. Every day I pray at night. Every day when I meditate, I wish to hear them. It became so strong that it became a habit. And that's one key thing in this spirituality, is that you unload all the old programming, then you start repeating what you wanted, not in a bad sense, but the ones that you really want to know how to navigate this reality and beyond. Because when you go beyond, you will start seeing ETs, saucers. You'll attend the Galactic Federation in the moon as well. But that's for another topic. And you will encounter these synchronicities, and when they guide you, they will expose you to the right people, to the right entities, as long as you have the right intention for service for others.
Excellent. All right, so let me ask you a couple of fun, quick questions. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's very fascinating. I have so many questions, but I don't want to do all day. Okay, so first thing that comes to mind, and yeah, where would you most like to travel?
I have a soul mission, Egypt.
To Egypt, okay.
That I keep on holding on, so that's for another one.
What makes you laugh?
Stupidity. The simplest thing.
What household chore do you hate the most?
That's a hard one. Probably when I'm lazy, everything.
What song would you sing if you went to karaoke?
Ah, Blessed Union of Souls. I can't remember the song. Standing at the Edge of the Earth.
What famous person would you like to invite over for dinner?
Famous person. Probably one of my Galactic Federation people, but they're not that famous yet.
and what would you guys eat?
I'm not sure. Veggies, probably. I'm not sure.
What's your favorite season?
Right now, it's summer.
What superpower would you most like to possess?
I have them all already.
What's your favorite fruit?
Jackfruit.
And are you? What language would you like to learn?
Egyptian.
What are you, a morning person or a night person?
I'm more on a night person.
Lastly, what does the world need more of?
Love.
Cool. Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Thank you.
As I said, I learned so much talking to you, and I'm can't wait to share your journey and to learn more. I feel like I should have a reading with you too at some point. And yeah, so thank you again for being here, and
thank you for having me.
Listening, watching to Divine Disconnection. You can find us on Spotify and on YouTube. And until we meet again, stay divine and peace and love. Thank you.
Namaste.